Howdy, 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 howdy. I'm going to do a part 3 of my video concerning immigrants, because I just watched another video about Zarani Mandani today that disturbed me, and I watched I'm currently, right now as we speak, on my phone watching a video of this African dude listening to these group of Asian people who are creating these videos about where they need to identify with blacks against white America. There are places in the world where I do feel that you need to make white people be more respectful. White people, for example, are buying up land in Hawaii, especially on certain islands. They're buying up a lot of land, and the poor Hawaiians cannot afford to buy, that land when the land is in their tribal name. Hawaiians, Hawaiians is not white. That's a brown-skinned, melanated nation that was colonized by America. And when we started, we wanted it to be, when we started, we respected the culture and we respected the island and all like that. But then, over time, especially my favorite island, which is Oahu, the wealthiest people are white. Just like if you go to Florida, if you go to California, if you go to Kansas City, if you go to Lamont, if you go anywhere in the world where the rich and the famous are, they're going to be white. And a lot of it is, some of it, I wouldn't say a lot of it, but some of it is white. I wouldn't call it slavery either, but I would call it kind of plantationism, where they get off on the poor. They get off on people who basically work under them for survival, and at the same time, the highest, some of their income goes to those white people to live up on the hill, with the gated fences and the house completely painted white all the way around and all like that. Now, I'm going to say some things right here that offend people on the flip side of that. Again, I do believe that some places in the world, wherever America started off with letting these people have their space and their culture and the island or whatever being, for example, even outside the country, like Africa, Orania shouldn't be there. That's the racist thing I've ever heard. The most racist video I've ever watched is Orania. It is. Orania should not be in Africa. Or, if they are going to create an Orania, they should buy it from Africa. Now, Africa is big enough for them to have a white nation within a nation, or a white city within a, buy it off of Africa. But these people just went out there, okay, and I started to look at, apartheid in a different light when I saw this Irania video. It really disturbed me how these white people were ignorantly, making dumb excuses to have a city where they don't want no blacks. And like the African brother that just did this video about Asians, because he loves the idea that Asians are going to apologize to his black behind. He ain't black, he's African. There's a big difference. Blacks and Africans are two different people. They were two different people when they were two different people during slavery. That's how we got put in slavery in the first place. So quit calling Africans black and quit calling blacks Africans. Ain't nobody African Americans but Africans that have come over here, and I'm black. I'm not African American. I'm proud to be black. I like that joke that Michael Jr. said, like, hey, what I sound like saying African American, please, oh man, I'm black, I ain't no African American. I've never been on Africa. I don't know nothing about Africa, except I don't want to live there. I don't want to be there. I don't want to go through it, okay? I'm glad I was born and raised here, okay? I didn't go through slavery. Neither did my mama go through slavery. My grandmother had trouble with white people, but she didn't go through slavery either, okay? But anyway, in the Philippines, moving on. In the Philippines was colonized by Spain. Till this day, now that the Spanish have spread apart like Jews, they spread all over the place. They colonized the Philippines and turned the female culture of the Philippines into the most beautiful thing you ever seen. Nobody looks like a Filipina. There ain't no Asian woman on the face of the earth that look like a Filipina. When men go online looking for Asian girls, they're looking for Filipinas. And not only have the Filipinas made, the Philippines look like paradise, and all these men of every race are running to the Philippines, a lot of them with their zippers open, and a lot of them are looking for a submissive wife, and they want to settle down, and they know before they even get to the Philippines they want to retire there and live there for the rest of their life at a young age even, okay, and an old age, okay. But there's things going on in the Philippines right now where the Philippines need to have more mercy on their poor people. They have, you talk about the way we treat our poor people here in the U.S. You should see the way they treat their poor people in the Philippines. You got people living off of garbage. Whole families living off of garbage as a culture. They're taking chicken bones that you've already eaten off, and they are scraping what your teeth have left on the bone and scraping it into something and recooking it and draining it and cleaning it and turning it into food to feed their children. You can go to YouTube and look this up, okay? It's bad. And that's one of the things that, to me, Donald Trump should be going to the Philippines and giving, their government a piece of his mind. They don't, the government doesn't take care of their people like we take care of our people. And we used to take care of our people better back in the day than we take care of them now. Right now, the government ain't doing really much for their people. I can't even get medical insurance, and I'm totally jobless and broke, and I can't even get medical insurance. The government is trying to worry about my income. What part of I haven't worked for 2 months? Don't you understand? Well, we need your pay stubs. Pay stubs for what? I haven't worked. They don't get it. And so I got to go back down there tomorrow. Let's try this again. Now I got all this paperwork done for you, which is not going to help you. Okay? Well, we can't. Well, the stubs you sent us, we couldn't open them up. There's nothing to open up. Are there prices there? There's tags there. Okay. Okay, and my name's on. Okay, so that's all the income I've made for months. Okay. Quit trying to be so into this security measure. If you know what I'm saying, like, you can tell I have no money, I have no income. Look up my social security number. Let's quit lying to each other. You trying to pick somebody, okay, that you're not going to squeeze in there. You can't put everybody in there, so you're going to pick somebody. You're going to pick me. Don't pick me. I'm more broker than most people I know right now. Okay, stop. Don't pick me. I'm not the person you want to pick, because I'll die. Okay, I'll just die. I'm not. You don't want to play that game with me. If you're going to spin the ball and decide who's not getting in, don't pick me. Okay. But anyway, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm entitled to anything, because I'm not. It's if you go bankrupt, if you fall into, if you go out there and you try to start a business or whatever and it fell out the other end on you, okay, you know what I'm saying? It happens to many of us. That's how we got rich in the first place, okay? Because we were willing to take those risks. I'm willing to take those risks. And right now I took one of them risks, and I'm in my, disappointment period. But hey, do you think I'm going to give up? No, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to be back out there again, but a lot smarter. I'm going right back to it. I already made up my mind. When I go back to work, I'm only going back to work long enough to get back to what I was doing. Get back to my journey, and then, and I think all black people should think like I'm thinking. Okay? Because this is America. And white people, in general, ain't holding us back from nothing. Now, but just like in the Philippines, it was colonized by Spain, and when the Spanish spread out, to this day in the Philippines, we still practice Spanish holidays. We still have a lot of Spanish living in the Philippines. Spanish gangs, I think that's a bad thing, but Spanish people living in the Philippines, they've had even cartel problems, I think, over the years, but that's kind of spread out. But they've had everything from, Spanish holidays, Spanish political leaders, all the way to Spanish gangs, okay, in the Philippines. And right now, as we speak, Spanish food, Spanish holidays, Spanish gangs, you name it. But they got their name back. It's still the Philippines, and it's the Philippines based upon the fact that it was colonized by, and the holiday that they're talking about is called Filipino Spanish Friendship Day, June 30. Okay, so even though the Philippines was colonized by Spain, and the Philippines didn't like that at first, now June 30 is the holiday. It's called Filipino Spanish Friendship Day. Okay, Meanwhile, here in America, and before I say that, Filipino women pride themselves of explaining why they look so exotic the way they do and all like that. No, I'll tell you, because we're Spanish Asian mixed, and which is the reason why we have our beautiful caramel colored skin, our hair, and our large lips and funny noses and all like that, just like black people and all this kind of stuff and all like that. And this is why we're so exotic looking. This is why we look different than Chinese and Japanese women, and and I gotta admit, the most beautiful the most beautiful Asian female that I've seen has been from the Philippines, either the Philippines or Thailand, Cambodia, and Indonesia. Those four. Indonesia, Philippines, Cambodia, and Thailand are the four most beautiful Asian women that you'll ever see. Okay? And Chinese women, and especially Japanese women. Japanese women can be tall, very tall, and very, very, very creamy, almost white skin. It's kind of like being white, but more cream to it. Just enough melanation in there so that, you're not double colored. You're nice and creamy. Japanese women have that creamy color, I think. Chinese women have a little bit more of a yellow color. And they're taller. Japanese women are the tallest, I think. And then Chinese women tend to be taller. Filipino women and Thailandish women tend to be very short, like me. I'm not making a video about that, but the thing is, here in America, let's not try to make this video too long. In America, listening to this video of this young man, this African man, talking about Asians trying to be honest about their connection to black people. Well, if you want to be honest and say that you have a connection to black people, that's where it begins, that's where it ends. What's that got to do with white people? So I have a friend that, he's not my friend anymore because of this, but he used to come over to my house. He was a pastor friend of mine. He used to come over to my house, and he would come over to my house, and he had a nasty habit of coming in my house very arrogantly, like he was my landlord or something. And I don't allow my landlord to come in my house like that, but he would come in my house and act like, because he's my friend, he can, my daughters are going to wait on him hand and foot, and he's going to come in there and talk to my kids like whatever I tell them, he can tell them something different. And one day, when we were getting along, him and his daughter came in my house, and they brought bags in my house. And I'm in the kitchen putting stuff away, and I went in his bag because I thought he went to the store and there was something he wanted to show me. He bought something because he wanted to share with me and my girls or something like that. And I went in his bag, and he snatched the bag and says, "You don't go in my stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, I thought you bought something for me and the girls or something." He says, "Why would I do that?" I'm like, "Why didn't you leave it in the car then?" You know what I'm saying? It don't look like it's something that needs to be. You don't just go on people's stuff, blah, 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 blah. I says, well, you don't just bring any old thing in my house without, security checking it at the door. Like, I thought you was trying to share something. Usually when you bring a bag in here, that means you're trying to share something. So I'm going through your bag because I'm figuring while I'm putting stuff away, I might as well put away whatever you brought, And we got in a big argument about that. And I says, well, next time you come to my house, if you ain't got something to share and it ain't going to melt in the car, leave it in the car, bro. Because whatever is on my table, I have a right to inspect it and see what it is, okay? Especially if you don't let me know, oh, hey, this is, you got it tied up in a knot. This is something personal. Me and my daughter were taking this home, but I didn't want to leave it in the car because I don't, I want, But he's going to come in my house and flash whatever he's selling or whatever he bought. He's going to flash it in front of me and my daughters, and we're not allowed to touch it, But he's going to flash it as if I can't go to the store and buy one myself or whatever, but or to flash something because he spent a lot of money on it or whatever, whatever. I forget what it was. It was, he had a few items in there. One of them was a food item, and he was going to sit there and open up a can of peanuts or something and wasn't going to share them in my house, at my kitchen table, and some other things were in there, like some parts he needed for something that he was fixing in his house or something like that. The minute I saw the parts in there next to the peanuts, I think it was peanuts, I was like, okay, and I already like, whoa, he ain't bring that for us, but he'd already got mad, snapped, well, you don't throw my stuff, and we got in a big argument about it. It's kind of like the way people come into America, where they come in here and they think that they're going to make it about them. Like, if you are allowed to be a Muslim in America, see, the reason why I am like I am is because I don't have a home to go to if I don't like the way America is running. See, Middle Eastern people, people from the Saudis and people from Iran and people from Jews, Palestinians, Muslims, Indians, Asians, Africans. They all got somewhere to go home to. And if they make it out, if they can leave one part of Africa and travel all the way to the United States, they can leave one part of Africa and go to a better part of Africa. If they can leave, their horrible town in Saudi Arabia, they can and travel all the way to America, they can move to a better part of Saudi Arabia or a better part of, I forget how Saudi Arabia works, what it's connected to, what are the neighbors of it or whatever. I forget whether Saudi Arabia is a city or a country or whatever, but I forget. But if Saudi Arabia, if they can travel all the way to America, they can also travel next door and live in a better part of Saudi Arabia or live next door to Saudi Arabia or something of that nature. Okay? If you don't like the part of China that you're living in, you can travel all the way to America, you can move to a better part of China, Japan, wherever you're from. You can move to a better part. The beautiful thing about America is we're big enough and we have so many differences enough, and it's not all because of a melting pot. We don't need immigrants here to have different cultures. We have different cultures of white people. We have different cultures of black people. We have different cultures of, anybody here. It doesn't take us to worship immigration for us to have different cultures, to go to different parts of town where everything is different. Just like central Pennsylvania is the most mellow part of Pennsylvania. It's the best place in the world to be. Less crime, less poverty, less decline. They were not hit with the pandemic like we were, and they rebelled against the pandemic as well. But because they're central, they ain't Philly and they ain't Pittsburgh, they were able to get away with it, okay? And you can get away with things, okay, in central Pennsylvania that you can't get away with, that you wouldn't want to get away with here in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. But at the same time, if you do crime in central Pennsylvania, you are going to be arrested and locked up, and there ain't going to be no democratic. Central Pennsylvania is more conservative, obviously. If you do crime, there's no mayor. Ain't no Mayor Mandunny. Ain't, and it don't matter whether you black, white, or whatever. Ain't no Ilhan Omar, okay? Ain't nobody going to deliver you. You do the crime of an adult, you will be tried as an adult, okay? More conservative, okay? It's just a different place, and me doing Uber and traveling back and forth all over my state, and that I've come to the term that I would love to live in central Pennsylvania. So I'm leaving Pittsburgh and I'm moving to central Pennsylvania. Now, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Racism is not our problem. But if you think that you're going to come to America and push white people out of the way and put more of whatever you're lacking there, not only do I think that's unfair, but eventually that's going to shoot you in the foot. And instead of us getting over racism and moving on to a better, more peaceful plateau, we're increasing it. You don't need to push white people out of the way for nothing. There's plenty of room here for you to have what you need, but if what you want is anti-white, they have anti-white, places for you to listen to that kind of music, figure of speech. If what you want is so anti-white. And guess who showed up? Even stuff that's anti-white. Who showed up and came to listen to you rap? White people. All the money in there. Okay? Was paid by white people. Who's running the bar? Who's running the place? White people. And they don't mind, because to them it's your day. It's your day in your city. But that's as far as it goes. And if you got, like I used to, when I moved out of the Homewood section of Pittsburgh, which is a black community, I came back years later. I used to get some friends of mine from my old chocolate factory that I worked at. And we used to go down to the ghetto of Homewood to go to Big Mama's house where they sold black Southern food. And both me and this black brother that went in there, we come from a more conservative lifestyle. Okay? We ain't lived in the ghetto, for more than a minute. Okay? And but we understand from our childhood, and we understand from our parents and grandparents and cousins and siblings that, you know, that's one of the things, one of the strong points of being black is sodium, you know, is mac and cheese, greens, collard, kale, you know, with beans and cornbread, and, you know, we go down there to Big Mama's house and get us a plate of you know, spare ribs with some greens and beans and cornbread, and, you know, and there was a place up here at Walmart that was packing the place out. It was packing Walmart out because people, and I think the place was called Cornbread, corn something, and their cornbread was, and it was incorporated by black people. Now, what I didn't like is that they tried to, and God don't bless crap like that, but they tried to have all black employees. They tried to have all black employees. They really didn't want any white people working for them. And there's a lot of people that do stuff like that in America today. They want all Indian employees or all Arab employees, or they want all Spanish employees or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you open up a Popeyes, how come there ain't no white people working there? How come there ain't no black people working there? Okay, why has everybody got to be Spanish? Because the Spanish man decided to buy the business or buy that share of the business. You can't hire no black people. You can't hire no white people. And then if you hire them, how are you going to treat them compared to how you treat your people? That's what I'm concerned about. If you do hire them, you're going to treat these white people like they owe you something because you gave them a job? You're going to treat these black people like you're going to continue slavery? Like they ain't got enough of it from your country way back in the day? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we all get along? Is some of the most racist white people I've ever met say. Why can't we all just get along? Well, it ain't racist white people, it's racist white cops. But, and I'm not one of them kind of people to think all cops are racist. I just believe that some white cops think that if they have to come and do a simple thing like tell somebody to turn the music down, they think you're being too black. Why would a black person want the white dude next door to turn his music down when black people love loud music? Well, I don't like loud music, and I don't like 90% of black music. I don't. I like a little bit of rock and roll. My favorite style of music is pop. I've been this way since I was a kid. My mother was the same way. And my mother's genes are in me when it comes to music. I'd love Christian music even if I wasn't a Christian. Because I love the way Christian music sounds. I love us singing about reality instead of everything being baby, baby, baby. I want to get under your navel and slide my tongue down your thighs and all that kind of stuff. Okay, when there ain't that much loving going on in the real world. There's more anger and sorrow and domestic violence and men going to jail for beating up their women and women going to jail for trying to beat up their men, and the victims of all this are the children. Everything ain't baby, baby. You only need one song out of a whole concert to remind us how to love one another as men and women. Because if you sing more than that, you're lying. The world ain't about baby, baby. It's more about surviving as a single parent. It's more about holding on to a marriage regardless of what you're missing out on by holding on to that marriage. It's about understanding what marriage is about, the nuclear family is all about, and all like that. It's not about your husband being the greatest man in bed. But if your husband is the greatest man in bed, for some reason it's usually them guys that get cheated on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand it. Okay, because it's not about sex. It's about your man not being able to read between the lines. So what do women do? They try to step on his pride by cheating on him. And that's what cheating is. But a woman stepping on a man's pride without him knowing it. And by the time he knows it, you were dumb enough to think that he didn't have the balls to divorce you. You were dumb enough to think that he was so into, you know, your that thing between your legs that he would never ever leave. Well, wait a minute. There is no more thing between your legs for him if you've been cheating on him. Last thing on his mind is that thing between your legs. He might want to throw some kerosene down there and strike a match. At this point, he's not thinking about you sexually when he finds out you cheated on him. Okay, that's another video. But America, in closing, America, yes, white people are the face of America. And I don't mind, and I don't think white people mind, sharing in 2026, sharing the land, sharing the neighborhood, sharing the food, music, entertainment. All of us showing up at the Golden Corral together, all of us showing up at the circus. White folks sitting next to black folks, sitting next to Asian folks, who are sitting next to Arab folks, who are sitting next to African folks, who are sitting next to Spanish folks, who's sitting next to maybe even Native America if they come down off the plantation, not plantation, the reservation sometime. Come down off of that mountain. White people didn't put you up there. What you up there for? You can live in a general population. And most Native Americans that do become Christians, it's all about getting rid of hate, and they come down and live in the general population. They don't stay up there on the reservation when they become Christians. And people don't realize you got more going up there on the reservations than you do just, you know, Native Americans having their own space. A lot of people think it's just Native Americans having their own space. No, it's not. It's Native Americans up there practicing witchcraft and trying to hold on to things that caused them to be natives in the first place. Practicing that grass skirt garbage up there. Okay, just like this African fool, this Asian broad on this video that I just watched, sitting there talking about, oh, you know, well, there's pyramids on every continent. If there's pyramids on every continent, that's the kind of Egyptian black garbage that every black person should be ashamed of. That's witchcraft. This is why it's not about race. Because only one race at a time is going to get it right. Abraham and the people of the Bible discovered God because they were what was left. And they could have made a choice. And they did. For everyone that chose God, somebody else chose paganism. And it didn't matter what race you were. Sure, it started out with the Hebrews, which became the Jews. Okay? But for every Jew or Hebrew that walked with God, another Hebrew or a Jew was wearing the grass skirt and around the frickin' fire. And I'm sorry if you feel that that's your culture. That's witchcraft. It don't take a white man to explain that to you. Okay? Which has a lot to do with the Native Americans and white people trying to take over their land, blacks in slavery, and you name it. It's all about disrespect for witchcraft. I have no respect for witchcraft. I have no respect for witchcraft. Now you got these black people today, they can't accept that they're sharing a nation, a beautiful nation like this with white people. When white people Yeah, they colonized this place, so they were here first. If you colonized this place, especially way back then, you were here first. Some colonization is good, because what no African, no Asian, not back then anyway. Now Asians, look at Japan and look at China. I don't know, but what no African, okay, or no Native American, or any of them brown skinned nations that passed through Africa at that time was going to do anything with 50 states. You might have done something with 1,000 miles, but you wasn't going to do 50 states. That's some white crap right there. When no Native American going to cover 50 states and put his people in 50 states. Asians, I don't know about them, but today they could. Now, I'm all for a slight melting pot. What I'm not for is we need more and more and more and more and more. Move white people out of the way. Move white people out of the way where? In America? Over my dead body. I like my white America. I've been to Black America. I've been to Arab America. I've been to Somalian America. I like my white America. This right up in here. Even though most of the people up here are Napoleon and Indian. This is white America up here, except for when people don't know how to go to bed at night and shut the heck up, and when people don't know how to park their cars and stuff like that. They don't know how to drive. You need the police to come here and put all kinds of signs. When you see children out here every day, you come flying down the street, knowing that there's children living up here, knowing that there's animals living up here. Okay. Other than that, this is white America. It's just that little bit of immigration that we have up here. Well, it's a lot of immigration because a lot of white people moved out. But it's that little bit of immigration up here that I can't deal with. I can't deal with the way people drive up here, the way people park. You got to give them yellow lines for everything. You got to have speed limit signs for everything. Some things are common sense. This ain't the highway. There's people walking in the middle of the street. Why are you flying down the street, man? Dude was honking at me while I'm backing my car out of the parking space. I almost got out of the car and walked up to his. He's honking at me. But you might want to back up, turn around, and go the other way, and hurry up and get to the highway. If you need. So obviously he doesn't live on this street. He lives over there, but he's going to go down my street and go that way, or he's going to come down my street and go out the other end when he was already, there's an end up here. He didn't even have to come in here. He could have went down that street without cutting through here. But these people in their nation, like for example in Indonesia, we got some Indonesian people up here. In Indonesia, there are no people just drive. In India, people just drive. They don't really. There's not a whole lot. In Asian nations, period, especially like the Philippines or whatever, people just go around each other and all like that. We're more conservative about the way we drive here in America. Okay? If I'm going to merge over to the right and get off of the lane, I'm going to slow down and slightly to get into that lane and go right. The last thing I expect some dude to be doing when I had my turn signal on, he knew I was going to eventually make a right hand turn. He come flying around me. One dude wrecked his car trying to get around me. I was taking the guy to the airport, and this dude, instead of him slowing down and letting me merge on into the right lane to exit, he tried to fly around me. He thought I had my turn signals on, my right turn signals on for nothing. And, you know, and I always look at these people to see what race they are. Oh, usually they're not white. Usually, and a lot of times they're not black. Now, I gotta admit, even black people are a little bit smarter on the highway. But in the black community, as they call them, black communities, black people will block the street, and if you sit there and wait patiently for them to move over or park their car or whatever, they'll get out the car and walk up to you and start a fight with you because they think you have no right to wait. You got to go around them. Well, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. This is a one-lane bridge or whatever right here. Okay, sir. This woman right here is trying to go across the bridge. I'm trying to go across the bridge. You got two people on the bridge picking up prostitutes or whatever that crap is they're doing. And you think you're supposed to just block the bridge? Now, if I want to, I could just call the police and be a snitch, as they would call it. I don't call it being a snitch. I call it being an American. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how you're related to me. I call it being an American. But the guy is on his motorcycle, and he's doing a drug deal or something with the dude in the car, and then this guy on the left, this woman's waiting. He's picking up he's trying to pick up a prostitute. So the one guy on my side, he gets mad and comes up to my car and says, "Hey man, go around." So I had to go through the three cars actually. I had to go through without hitting her and go through these two cars. The second time I said that, I said, I backed out. And I went around that way, and after I picked the person up or whatever, I called the police and said, "You got guys blocking the little bridge here. It's a one-lane bridge. They doing some kind of drug deal or whatever." Yeah, that's the kind of person I am. It's called being an American. It's called being your brother's keeper. Because you let people like that get away with that too much, somebody's bound to get shot. As you can see, the dude felt that I had no reason to wait because he's trying to do something he's not supposed to be doing. Okay? But, too much in America, as I said in this second in the first video, many people, thinking that they don't need to speak English in this country. They think that they don't need to invest in Americans. They don't need to invest at all in white America. They only want to, too much of it making it about them instead of making it about America. And I'm an American. I'm an American first before I'm a black man. Why? Because I'm not on black soil. Okay? This place was a melting pot when I was born in it. Okay? When I lived in the Homewood section of Pittsburgh, now white people travel through Homewood today. And there's white people living there. It's the black people get mad because the white people are always living better than us. But about 2 miles out from where I lived in Homewood, okay, you see all the lovely white people coming out of the hospital, coming out of all the stores on Main Street and East Liberty and all that stuff on the main drag back in the day when we had all them beautiful restaurants in there and all like that. I used to go to the fish shop down there and boom, saw all these white people working there. And I'm thinking, this is the ghetto. But, well, not as bad as the ghetto I live in, but this still is the ghetto. They'll come in here and shoot you, But, and a white lady at the counter was always not. "Do you know what you want, sir?" "Oh, I'm still looking. Is there anything I can help you with?" "Okay, take your time." Okay. I love my country until the melting pot gets out of hand. I love my country until Ilhan Omar thinks she's going to make it about Somalia. I love my country until Zoran Mandani thinks he's going to make it all about Islam and Muslims. No, I don't think we should be tearing down churches and putting mosques there. No, I don't think we should be practicing no goddamn Sharia law. I don't care what's wrong with your country that you came from, why you felt you had to come here. But if you think you need to change our government and change our state and country laws, go to hell back to where you came from, please. Go to hell back to where you came from. Because this ain't about the white man and what's wrong with the white man. This is about your BS. Okay? You came from a BS country and you brought that BS over here with you. Everything from the way you drive to not washing your hands before you handle people's food, all the way to the way you treat women and men and children and your stupid religions. And that goes for black people too, who think they're going to go back to Africa, like they're from Africa in the first place, think they're going to go back to Africa and worry about the goddamn pyramids. You're stupid. I hate to tell you. I'm going to say it one more time. God dealt with whoever was available. He didn't say, oh, well, you know, the Christian religion is for the Abrahamic religions. No, that's what people say. That's not what God said. God said, can I find anyone that will walk upright before me? And Abraham said, here I am. And he went from Hebrew to Jew. He started the Jewish nations. And the Jewish nations had the oracles of God. And before they were ever Judaic, because Judaism is not of God, it's Antichrist. Before they ever became Judaics, they were just the people of God. Versus the people of the gods with a little g. Okay? They were the people of Almighty God. They were the people of Yahweh Adonai. Not no Yeshua Shea or whatever like these stupid Hebrew Israelites are talking about. None of that garbage. They were the people of Adonai, Yahweh. They were not people of Yahweh Shai or some junk like that. That's not in the scriptures. There's not a Hebrew or Greek, not even Aramaic name for Yahweh Shai. Get out of here. You're making this up as you go along. Okay? God did not choose Israel because he had a thing for Jews and he wanted to start a Jewish religion. God chose whatever he did not destroy. He said to those that he did not destroy, can I find one? And the Bible says, Abraham said, here I am. Moses found grace with God. Okay? That's what happened. So there is only one way, truth, and life. One way to the Father. It ain't Islam. It ain't Buddha. Okay? It ain't the goddamn pyramids. It is Jesus Christ. And it ain't about the Jews, because most of them are going to hell too. It's about Christians. And the Christians are a melting pot. They were a melting pot when they started. Because if you knew how to read your goddamn Bible, you would realize that God told Abraham, whoever is not against you is with you. God told Abraham, whoever blesses you, I will bless them. A reason why a lot of these nations are desolate in their S-hole countries, as Donald Trump said, is because, not because they're brown or because they wear certain clothes, but because they went against the Jews who hold the oracles of God, and they went pagan, which is against God. This is why their countries are desolate, and America is the biggest, most powerful nation in the world. Why? Because Americans brought Christianity over here with them. The white man brought his Christianity over here with him. And sure, yes, there were different sanctions of Christianity, and one of them sanctions took slaves, and then the abolitionists, that was a different sect of Christianity that said, no, brother, you're wrong. This is not in the Bible. This is in the slave traders were like, yes, it is. I can show you the scripture. And the abolitionist was like, no, it's not. I can show you the scriptures. If God was against slavery in the beginning, why are we going to create slavery when slavery is already over? It'd be different if it was still going on. You're going to wait till what? This time in a group of decades to make slaves again? God's not with that, man. But God always knew that the slaves were better off here as slaves than going back to Africa. They were better off here as slaves, because anywhere else that they're going to go, they're going to make them into worse slavery. Okay? So God knew, just like the 400 years that the Israelites were in slavery, God knew He allowed slavery to go on because He knew that today, in 2026, a black man can go and be a billionaire just like a white man can. A black man can live in Beverly Hills just like a white man can. An Indian man can. A Spanish person can. Everybody is part of that melting pot. But what needs to stop melting is you coming over here and making it about you. It's not about you. It's about America. And if you really feel that America does not respect your culture, if you really think that white people are too white for you, you really think you're supposed to make white people dumb down to you, you need to take your butt the hell back home. Because there ain't no white folks over there. There ain't that many white people over there. And you know, when you was at home, you had your way as far as what you was eating and the way you was traveling, the way you was driving, okay? You know what I'm saying? As long as you didn't hit a camel crossing the road, you was good. You hit anybody else, just don't hit a camel. Just don't hit the bull or the cow, because they might get back up and beat you behind. But you know, you knew that the laws were different in your country. You knew that Sharia law was prevalent. But if you love Sharia law so much, what you come here for? You come here to get away from that. But then you want to make America be that. 1 hour is too long. Thank you for watching. Dear Recruit Your Life Applications Officer. I hope I can get this to record whenever I can get it to record. In Jesus' name. Talk to you later with more.